Hi, as a 16-year-old social entrepreneur, I'm here today with you, full of hope for my future and joy in my heart. But it wasn't so 4 years ago. I was 12 then, facing the darkest hour of my life. I believed I had nothing to live for. Every day felt like an impossible battle I had to fight, unprepared, unarmed, and all alone. I used to stay curled up in a bed in my room, unable to talk to anyone or go to school. It was as if a weight had been placed on my chest, one I could not lift. I remember one afternoon, my parents had gone to work and I had stayed home from school. Suddenly, it felt like I couldn't breathe. I called up my parents and they rushed me to the hospital, only to be tentatively diagnosed with a seasonal bronchitis attack. At the time, it seemed completely out of the question that it could have been something else. My mental health. That was my first panic attack. These attacks continued, and my visits to the medical center for nebulization became a norm. But I knew it was something else. I wanted to get help, but I was afraid. Afraid to tell my parents, my friends, my teachers how suffocated I felt, how consuming the pain had gotten, and how desperately I wanted it all to end. I thought nobody would believe me, and I would be called weak. Growing up, we learn many lessons from society. True strength means smiling through the pain. Success means getting the best marks or making the most money, and feelings. Feelings mean something that should only be spoken about in hushed voices behind closed doors. So, for a dangerously long amount of time, I silenced myself because I was convinced that there was nobody truly willing to listen. It saddens me to say that this is not just my story. It's the story of millions of children around the country and around the world. A report by the World Health Organization states that 1 in 4 adolescents suffer from a diagnosable mental illness, but only 10 to 12% actually reach out for help. India has the highest suicide rate among youth for the ages of 15 to 29. Globally, we lose one life to suicide every 40 seconds. That's 12 lives by the time this talk is over. Eventually, my parents noticed how I was barely attending school, and I started to open up about what I was experiencing and asked for help. I remember sitting in the office of a woman who was in a position of authority. She looked at me and said, "Others have gone through much worse. You're just making excuses." I was shocked. Fortunately, I received professional support, and after a year of therapy, I felt much better. I started opening up about my journey of recovery, and soon teenagers in my school and community started opening up to me. They were struggling with symptoms of depression, self-harm, suicidal thoughts. They needed help. I asked them to seek professional support, but most of them adamantly refused, as they said they would be called attention seekers. The situation that I saw broke my heart and inspired me and one of my friends to start Project Let's Talk with the help of the 1M1B Foundation, an initiative that aims to spread mental health awareness and break the stigma around reaching out for help among adolescents by conducting awareness sessions in schools across all socioeconomic backgrounds. This is a picture of one of the very first sessions that Let's Talk conducted. After the session, the students came up to me with an endearing curiosity about mental health. One of the girls told me that she had never even heard of anything called mental health. Another student expressed his astonishment at me saying that it was okay to cry. He explained that he had stopped crying, as every time he did, he would be physically punished for not being manly enough. The students and I sat there discussing our experiences with vulnerability and mental health even after the session had ended. This was the first time that they had expressed themselves to each other so openly because there was a safe space for them to do so. They found support in one another. This happened in one class, in one school. But imagine if we could create this in every single school in the world. Let's Talk continued conducting these sessions across various schools. So far, we have conducted 108 awareness sessions, impacted 3,400 people with a team of 20 and the help of over 100 volunteers. Through 3 years of running the project and talking to thousands of children, I started to notice 3 common patterns. Any mental health intervention, especially in public schools, is done by external organizations such as mine once or twice a year. There are no real conversations happening about mental health, and students keep their feelings to themselves. Secondly, most schools have a culture where marks are prioritized over happiness. Teachers are not trained about mental health and often make the situation worse. I was talking to a girl who went to a teacher in her school and said that because she had clinical depression, she wasn't able to keep up in her class. The teacher told her that she could not afford to have depression as her grades would drop. Thirdly, there are no safe spaces for students to go to when they are struggling with their mental health. A lot of students believe that it's okay to ask for help when they're struggling with a physical problem like fever or an injury, but it is shameful to talk about emotional problems openly. So how can schools fix this? I have developed the ARI framework: action, reaction, and intervention. Action. Schools need to take action and conduct regular classes on mental health. These discussions should focus on sharing experiences and normalize talking about your feelings. Just like we have weekly classes on physical education, we need to have weekly classes on mental health. Reaction. Teachers need to be trained and know how to react when a student reaches out. Children spend most of their time with their teachers. Imagine what would happen if every teacher was sensitized to the issue, knew how to identify students that needed help, and approach those students empathetically. The culture in our schools would change. Intervention. Schools need to know how to intervene effectively and have support systems in place. Each and every student should know to whom and where they can go if they need support. Schools can have judgment-free zones. This can be any physical space on campus where students can go if they feel overwhelmed or having a bad mental health day or need help. I can't express how much a space like this would have helped me when I was struggling. I'm not saying that the measures I have just listed are going to be very easy to implement, but I am saying that if we want to stop losing more lives to stigma, these actions are necessary. All of us need to take action. Mental health should be a part of everyday conversation. Asking a child, "How is your mental health today?" should be a common occurrence. So if you're listening to this, please, please join the fight against stigma. Start conversations at home and in schools about mental health. Encourage vulnerability. Contact local schools and ask them what they are doing to support their students' mental health. Or even simple steps that you can take, such as asking someone how they are doing and truly trying to listen to them, could mean the difference between life and death. The problem may be powerful, but we are not powerless. Together, we can fight for the happiness of children. Together, we can fight to make sure that no child feels so alone that they think they have no choice but to end their life. We need to take action, and we need to take it now.